This is your Olympic hero and former WWE champion, Kurt Angle. And I just wanted to give a shout out to my guys, Clint and Noah. When it comes to covering sports, there is no one better. And believe me, that's true. It's damn true.
Gentlemen, you are the top 1%.
The elite. Best of the best.
But to be the man, you gotta beat the man. And I'm saying, woo! I'm the man. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
You know, when they talk about the elite. The elite. You ever see the elite? You're the elite. You are the elite.
You are now listening to the Elite Sports Podcast, brought to you by Vermeil Wines and powered by GASN Sports, the pinnacle of hard-hitting sports talk, featuring weekly expert analysis and top-notch interviews. And now, please welcome your hosts, Noah Groniger and Clint Schweitzer.
Like an unstoppable rebel freight train, the Elite Sports Podcast rolls along, and the interviews are coming with us, Noah. Clint Schweitzer alongside Noah Groniger, as always, here on The Elite. We appreciate you listening and downloading on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify. Any way you choose to take in your podcast, we have got your back. Noah, how's it been going? We are so pleased to keep these interviews going. We're going to have former NFL analyst, former Pittsburgh Steeler, two-time Super Bowl champion Ike Taylor joining us on this very show.
Yeah, I'm excited. Ike had a really good career. Those two Super Bowls you mentioned against the Seahawks and the Cardinals, they won both of those. So like you said, two-time Super Bowl champion. I enjoyed his analysis on NFL Network, and it was great to catch up with him. We're going to give you that interview here a little bit later. And yeah, everything's going great. Baseball is going to be coming back, so all's good in my world.
Yeah, I guess if that means there's some live sports, I guess sign me up. I guess. I remember playing Little League.
The guinea pigs, and then we'll see, and then the NFL can go off what they do.
Well, you're right, and we know that there's just rampant uncertainty, and we're just trying to provide a much-needed distraction for all you guys, and that's why these interviews have kept rolling on. We've had some of our more prolific interviews here the last few months during this pandemic, and we hope that it's kept you entertained, and we hope that we'll continue to do that here with Ike Taylor. We've got some more exciting ones coming up. Next week, we're going to be joined by former Mizzou tight end and current NFL free agent Sean Culkin is going to be coming on with us, and we're going to even get into a little college football today with Mizzou coach Eli Drinkwitz. We were on with him during his Zoom press meeting last week, and he had some really interesting quotes about some of the things that are going on because, guys, the truth of it is, here on The Elite, Noah, both you and I, we're sports guys, and that's what we do. So all the craziness that goes on in the world, sometimes it goes over our head. When you're talking about pandemics and how it affects the health of players, that stuff, we can all speculate, but either one of us know what's going to happen. And so it's just not really germane for us to speculate. And the truth of it is, we taped this interview with Ike Taylor a few weeks ago, really before, it was kind of right at the beginning of the pandemic, to be honest. So some of the stuff that we talk about is going to seem a little like non-pertinent because a lot's happened since then. But we talked to Ike Taylor before that. He, of course, was on NFL Network. I miss his work on NFL Network, to be honest with you. So, Noah, you and I, we are certainly not politicians. So sports in 2020 has been it's been kind of difficult for us. Yes.
Yeah, very much so. Social justice, COVID, wearing masks, social distancing. What do we do? When's the vaccine coming? There's an election coming in November. I really have no views, thoughts on that. I wish all the best for everybody. Peace and love around the world. End of war.
Canceled.
But I just need sports back in my life. I got to be talking about. That's why we do these interviews here. That's why we continue to roll the Elite Sports Podcast out with great interviews each and every week, because that's all that we know. Our whole lives have been built around sports. We built this because of our love and our passion for sports, mainly football and basketball, also some boxing. We've covered NASCAR as well, but we just need sports back so bad. It's not even funny. I can't make a joke about it. I just have to have it.
Well, of course, politics and world issues are bleeding over into football. We know that. And because of that, we talk about how we're on the weekly conferences on Zoom with Mizzou coach Eli Drinkwitz. And last week, he did not get asked a single football question except for One by Me, which was about the quarterback situation. We're going to give you that audio here. And the fact that a football coach has to sit there and field 30 minutes of questions about social justice, kneeling for national anthems, what we're going to do for COVID, when they have no idea, when college players aren't even on the field for national anthems. Is it fair that we're sort of forcing coaches to turn into politicians and social justice warriors? I know they're important faces of their universities, and I know that we've seen some negatives come from this, from kind of what's happened with Mike Gundy, and Drinkwitz is going to kind of address that. And kind of defend it a little bit, with also talking about having to be more aware as a coach. But is it fair, kind of what's happening to coaches right now? They sure can't talk about what's going on the field. There's non-mandatory workouts going on that are getting shut down across the country. Eli Drinkwitz hasn't even seen some of his players since March. And so is it fair what coaches are being kind of forced into right now?
It's not fair. It's not normal. It's not expected. When you sign the contract, you're not expecting that something like this is going to go off in the world and you're going to have to be a voice out there to speak on it. But they make these millions of dollars, and that just comes with the territory. If COVID-19 happens and there's a fight for social justice around the world, then you're going to have to talk about it, and you're going to have to be asked about it over and over and over again, and about what you're going to wear. Are you aware of your clothing now that Mike Gundy's worn this OAN shirt and Dabo Swinney's worn a Football Matters shirt? Are you more aware now of your wardrobe and picking it out and laying it out to the night beforehand and get opinions from your wife, your kids, your family? Is this okay? Is this going to offend anybody? Am I okay here? And so that's why he, like you said, he's going to talk about that. And you're going to hear about a Hawaiian shirt that he's wearing in the presser, kind of a tip of the hat to Andy Reid, and just a nice, safe shirt to wear in today's times.
But that's what you're asking. You're trying to get me in trouble. So,
no, I named no names, Coach. There were no names. I'm talking a hypothetical situation.
Number one, this shirt was awesome. So it didn't take any thought process to put this shirt on, because it's got flamingos, Hawaii. I've gained quite a bit of weight during COVID. A full button-up shirt. Loves to hide the weight. You can't see it as well. So this was like zero risk. I think, and I'm not defending anybody's choice of shirts, okay? But I am going to defend head coaches in this manner. We are taking private time. These guys are getting pictures taken by fans out on vacation time or on their own. How many of y'all go to a lake and think about what shirt you put on at a lake, or at what shirt you're going to put on? Now, do you have to be aware? Yes, you do. I'm not defending Dabo Swinney's shirt, but I received that same football shirt, Football Matters, as the head coach at Appalachian State. That was an initiative by the National Football Foundation, okay? I didn't wear it because it was cotton, and I didn't want to wear a cotton T-shirt. But, he's on vacation. He just happens to take a picture with somebody, and I'm not sure. Now, I'll answer the question in this. I'm a lot more aware now of everything I do than I ever have been in the past, and hypersensitive to anything that I may potentially say. Like, even every question y'all are asking, I'm thinking right now prior to what I say about what I say, what's my response. And yes, I guess now too, I'm wearing, I'm worried about what my shirt choices are. I mean, I don't know if you can go to an ugly Christmas sweater party anymore as a head football coach. I'm dead serious. I don't know that. And wear one.
There you go. Good response there from Eli Drinkwitz, who, of course, was just peppered with questions about the attire and the shirt. A really cool shirt. I want one of those. Go check it out. Just go to Twitter and type in Eli Drinkwitz. That shirt's going to pop up. It's a popular one. I
think they're Tommy Bahama shirts or something like
that. There's your plug. They're not sponsoring the podcast this week. Vermeil Wines is, but hey, just keep Noah. I guess we're just giving it away for free now. That's what we do. No, very cool. And actually, guys, this is going to shock you, because our next bit of audio is me asking Coach Drinkwitz about Missouri's quarterback situation.
Tisk.
Which is completely taboo, apparently, to talk anything about football. But I asked about the two potential starters in Sean Robinson and Connor Bazelak. And according to Eli Drinkwitz, there are 5 potential starters.
Well, there's 5 quarterbacks involved in the quarterback race. We got Sean Robinson, we got Taylor Powell, we got Connor Bazelak, we got Brady Cook, and we have Jack Samsel. We're excited about what each one brings to the table. I've not seen Connor do anything full speed or live. He was recovering from his ACL tear in the spring. So not sure where he's at. I mean, I've been told he's full, but got no evidence of that. Sean, I thought in this 3 practices did fine. Taylor Powell in 3 practices did fine. Brady Cook looked like a kid who should have been going to, graduation, which is absolutely normal and expected. And Jack was learning the offense too. So that to me is probably the biggest question mark on our football team right now. And not a lot of answers for you on June 17th. Happy birthday, Anna Drinkwitz, my sister today. But not a lot of answers for you there, and won't have any until we get our hands on them and do things, which hopefully starts August 6th, being able to do some live stuff where I can see him actually compete for the job.
Well, that was a cool little quip there from Coach Drinkwitz. We thought that would be something at least that kind of related to some things that are going on today, because Noah, like I said, you and I, we just don't have a lot of opinions on it. As far as we have opinions, but I mean, you hear it all. People have a voice. People are everywhere talking about it. You can get that anywhere. Here, we want to give you the top-notch interviews here on the Elite Sports Podcast, and that's what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to do next with Ike Taylor. But good stuff from Eli Drinkwitz. I tell you what, I'm a fan of his. I find him engaging, hilarious, and by the way, as we sit today, Missouri has the 19th ranked recruiting class in the country. The highest ever in the Rivals era was 2010 when it was finished ranked 21st. So Coach Drinkwitz is out there doing work, and he's not even been on the job 6 months. He's never coached a team on the field. He's obviously making some impressions around the country and in the state of Missouri. So props to Coach Drinkwitz. This looks like it could be a most fruitful relationship, he and Mizzou.
Yeah, the recruiting is just blown up. It's off the charts. It's amazing to see, and just time will tell what he's going to be like on game day with Mizzou, implementing his plan, his offense, and just how he is galvanizing this Mizzou team in this post-COVID-19 world, if we can ever get there, which I'm not sure we ever will, but if we do, we'll get to see that from Eli, and just how he does in the SEC going up against the likes of the Georgia, Floridas, Tennessees, Auburns, LSUs, Texas A&M, Alabama. I mean, it's a bigger task for him at hand in the SEC, the most premier conference in college football. So he's got his hands full, but he's off to a great start with the recruiting. Like I said, just off the charts.
Hey, we already know Gus Malzahn is his mentor as they work together at Arkansas State, and Malzahn has said this was the steal of the college football coaching carousel that occurred this last offseason. So high marks from Gus Malzahn there, who's on a perennial hot seat himself at Auburn. But just when you think it's going to end for him, they beat Alabama, or they win 10 or 11 games, and they make the SEC championship game. So one thing we're going to miss out on, of course, this year is SEC Media Days. We got to meet all the coaches last year. We're hoping to be able to do that via Zoom this year. So it's going to be a little different for us. We're used to being there in person. So we're trying to adapt to a COVID-19 world as well, and I'm not doing so well with that. But on the other side, guys, we're going to go ahead and bring you with our interview. But on the other side, guys, we are going to go ahead and bring you our interview with former 2-time Super Bowl champion Ike Taylor and former NFL Network analyst. That'll be right here after this. Bring a spectacular piece of Napa Valley right to your doorstep today with Vermeil Wines.
Former legendary Chiefs and NFL coach Dick Vermeil started Vermeil Wines back in 1999, but his undying devotion to bringing a taste of Napa Valley to the masses actually goes back generations.
Well, it started as a hobby of making 150 to 200 cases of Cabernet, Jean-Louis Vermeil Cabernet, my dad's name and my great-grandfather's name.
Vermeil wines are grown in Coach Vermeil's hometown of Calistoga, California, at the top of Napa Valley, where the vineyards are over 100 years old.
Browse all the signature wine options or become an official member today at VermeilWines.com.
Choose from 3, 6, or 12 bottles and enjoy a 15% savings with shipments each February, May, and September. You'll also get access to exclusive offerings and events such as virtual wine tastings with Coach Vermeil himself, as well as member-only wines.
Try the Signature Club, where you get 1 case per year, a 20% savings, 4 bottles of each Cabernet. These are the highest rated wines at $1 shipping all year.
To join, visit VermeilWines.com now or call 707-254-9881.
Use promo code ELITE for $1 shipping on 3+ bottles of wine. This will also apply to your first wine club order if you mention ELITE at sign up.
Ike, as we look at the NFL here, we're all sitting here, and obviously the draft happened about a month ago. now's the time you start thinking about, some storylines moving forward. But really, we're all just in such a holding pattern right now. You have to talk about things like, 6 teams have unveiled new uniforms. I guess that's kind of where we are. Have any of them stuck out to you? I know the Rams was the most recent one. Have any of them stuck out to you, good, bad, or otherwise?
Yeah, I just like the Rams color. I like that color. It's a nice little color. It's a California color. It's nice. I always did like even when Bussy was at the Rams before he came to Pittsburgh, I always did like that old throwback yellow and blue color. So I always been a Rams fan when it came down to jerseys.
What about the road bone jerseys? It's not a white, it's a bone. They're trying to go with like the color of the Rams horn. That didn't work for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on your flavor. That's all, on what you like. I know it take a while because, people are so used to and accustomed of just the jerseys that's been around for so long. It takes a while for people just to think outside the box and get adjusted to these new uniforms.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it. And as we kind of look forward here, of course, we're here in Kansas City, Ike, where the Kansas City Chiefs are the defending Super Bowl champions going into this year. They're able to retain Sammy Watkins, able to retain Bashaud Breeland, although could be in some legal hot water. Chris Jones is still a part of the team as of now. So when you look at what the Chiefs have done going back into this year now, obviously the Ravens still right there. Where do you see the Chiefs heading into 2020? Is this still the team to beat, and not only in the AFC but in the NFL as the defending champions?
Yeah, everything got to go through Kansas City, and the reason why everything got to go through Kansas City is because Patrick Mahomes. When you got a kid that young, that confident, and you have a old seasoned veteran coach in Andy Reid, and of course everybody who played for Andy Reid look at Andy Reid like dad. And Andy Reid don't mind, just not going outside the box, but giving people second and third chances. If you just hear the stories on teams who wouldn't take guys or draft guys because of their past, they don't say that about Andy Reid. They say Andy Reid is a loving person. So he just got a good heart. But for him to have a guy like Patrick Mahomes and just sit on the sideline, and you can see in games where Patrick Mahomes is kind of telling Andy Reid what he sees on the field, I think we should adjust this way. That's a lot of confidence in a young kid. So defensive-wise, they wind up getting turnovers. Of course, they had a new defensive coordinator, so it just took a while. They wind up getting Honey Badger, and we all know what Honey Badger can do. He's good around that line of scrimmage, and he don't mind taking chances and making plays on that back end. So he's kind of like the heart and soul from the linebackers all the way to the secondary. They drafted some more good defensive linemen. Like, I like the draft they had. So got another running back. So they understood, and he understands, we can rely on Patrick Mahomes during the season, but when it comes down to the playoffs, we got to play good defense and running the ball.
Well, just to expound on Patrick Mahomes, I mean, a lot of people are already talking about, he could potentially be the GOAT, better than Tom Brady, the best ever to do it. Where do you see Patrick Mahomes right now? He's only going into his 3rd year, starting his 4th year in the league, among the likes of Dan Marino, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, John Elway, Peyton Manning, guys that have done it, and we've seen him throughout a whole career. And I know it's only Patrick Mahomes' 3rd year starting, but what would you say about his game and his potential moving forward?
I love his game. I love watching him. You can just tell he's just a good, genuine dude. That's why guys like playing with him. He's not about himself. He's a Steeler. He's a we guy. What we doing? So he don't mind taking chances. So he don't point the finger when things go wrong. He takes all the blame, even if it's not on him. And guys respect that. They respect that at a young age. He's doing this at a young age. Being a GOAT, it's hard to be the GOAT. You got to be consistent. Think about it. Drew Brees ain't been to the Super Bowl since when? Aaron Rodgers ain't been to the Super Bowl since when? So we talking about 2009, 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
So ain't nothing guaranteed in this league. When it want to come down to talent, making exotic throws, that's Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers has been doing it for a long time. But at the same time, to say he's a GOAT or could be, I could never say that because time will tell. I just know it's not easy going back. And I just named 2 Hall of Famers who haven't been back between 10 and 12 years to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, speaking of your former teammate, Ben Roethlisberger, is in a little bit of hot water this week because he went to the barbershop and got a haircut. So that's kind of where we are. In the realm of NFL news, Ben Roethlisberger goes and gets a haircut, and the mayor of Pennsylvania calls him out on it. Just talk about Ben and kind of what you think his motivation is for continuing to come back. I mean, for so many years, he would kind of end seasons injured and beat up, and the rumors would fly that this would be it. He keeps coming back, even though the Steelers are kind of still in a rebuild mode. What is the motivation for Ben to keep doing this?
Ben is very competitive. You play Ben in golf, he gonna smoke you. You play Ben in one-on-one around the world on the basketball court, he gonna smoke you. You play Ben in pool, he gonna smoke you. You play Ben in ping pong, he gonna smoke you. He just so happened to be a future Hall of Famer for football. Seven is always motivated. You know, that's just how Seven wake up. You know, Seven is he's stubborn. He's a good stubborn. He knows what it takes. So the only thing Seven got to do is stay healthy. So I think Pittsburgh going back, and they know Seven is getting up there in age. They're going back to how they won with Seven when he was young. You know, and I said this earlier today, like they relied on Seven from the time, I think, year 7 to about 2 years ago. Now we got to go back to how we won with Seven, which was a good running game, 2 tight ends with Heath, Miller and company, and a good defense. And now you saw what the defense did last year, a younger defense. It's reminding you of the defense of old with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, what else we do? We get us a few good running backs, get us some young, talented receivers, and we already got a good defense. It's going to take a few games where Seven got to win with his arm. 3 or 4 games where Seven got to go throw for 300-plus yards. It's going to take a few of them. But by the end of the day, we're thinking playoffs. And by the end of the day, we're seeing what quarterbacks done and do and how things are worked. Regular season, we rely on the quarterbacks. Playoffs, we rely on the running game and a good defense. Maybe have to do a drive or two if it gets down to it in the playoffs, but that's just how it goes. If you just watch teams who make it to the playoff, you know, and get in the playoffs, they have good defenses and a hell of a running game.
Absolutely, and that'll be interesting to see moving forward this season. But I want to ask you about 2 of your former teammates, Antonio Brown. We know all the stories that happened with him, and if you think he's going to be reinstated and he'll play football again in the National Football League. And then Le'Veon Bell, it just doesn't feel right with the Jets. Adam Gase has come out and said he didn't really want him there. And how did that just not work out with the Steelers? Such a great running back, not to take anything away from James Conner. He's doing his thing there in Pittsburgh as well. But Le'Veon Bell, it just seems like he was such a dynamic running back, whether it's running or catching. I mean, almost a LaDainian Tomlinson type. And how did that not work out in Pittsburgh?
I think the last straw with Le'Veon was when his teammates was talking about his money. And it's a golden rule in the NFL. You never talk about a man's money when it comes to contract situations because you never know their situation financially and what they're trying to do. So I think that broke the camel's back when a few of his teammates got to talking about his money because he looking like, man, when y'all contract was up, I'm on board with y'all. Don't forget, it's us versus the front office in this franchise when it come down to money. So I think that hurt Le'Veon. If nobody said nothing about his contract, Le'Veon would have been a Pittsburgh Steeler. I believe that in my heart. But that's a golden rule when you're a former or active athlete, professional athlete. You never talk about somebody else's money. You know, you're going to always want the best for that person. And when a few of his teammates came out and was talking about his contract situation, I think that hurt him dearly.
Well, let's talk about a team that's certainly a former rivalry for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Baltimore Ravens, of course, are in a great spot right now. They're in the AFC. Lamar Jackson comes out, has an MVP type season. They had some really key components, had a tremendous draft, at least from my perspective, coming in here. You talked about everything running through Kansas City. Where is Baltimore in all of this? And what do you think that it's going to take for Lamar Jackson, for that perception of him to sort of reach that Patrick Mahomes level because he had such a tremendous season? Where are the Ravens in all of this, and how do you feel about Lamar Jackson going forward?
He's special. He's a different special. Patrick can't do what Lamar do. Lamar can't do what Patrick do. That's what makes them two young guys so unique. So it's a different kind of offense. They're asking the quarterback to do different things. For the Ravens and company, it's more on coming from behind, which was something they wasn't used to, because they're always up on games. So it's different when you call it up and you got a good defense and you really rely on your running game. For Lamar Jackson, it's going to be fine-tuning and just reading his reads. Don't forget, this like the first year where they really got a solid year together and understanding and knowing what Lamar can do on the offensive side. This is coming in year 2 now. So I think the offense, when it comes down to it, they'll rely more on Lamar Jackson to pass the ball. Last year, they led the league in rushing with Lamar and Mark Ingram, and that's how it should be, with a solid, good defense. But it's two different kind of quarterbacks when you want to talk about Pat and Lamar. I'm not asking for Patrick Mahomes to rush for over 1,000 yards, you know. But I know when it comes down to current situations, I'm going to ask him to pass it on the drive. The read options, which they did very well for the Baltimore Ravens, getting another young running back from Ohio State to go with Mark Ingram, they still going to rely on the running game. So they know what they're doing. I think this is their second year. You will see Lamar Jackson pass it more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to ask you about James Harrison. It came out this week. He did an interview and talked about how he received money after a hit. Well, he didn't say money. He said he received an envelope from Mike Tomlin after a hit against the Browns, Muhammad Massaquoi. And a lot of people came out and like, oh, Bountygate. This is Bountygate. He was paying for the hit. Like, no, it comes out. He said it wasn't bounty. And so people are speculating it might have been he was paying for the fine. They thought it was a legal hit. They didn't think he should have to pay the fine. So what do you know about Mike Tomlin, and what are your just thoughts on that situation and what James Harrison had to say?
The man said he got an envelope. He ain't said what was in it. So like you just say, speculation, we just blew it all out of proportion, you know, the media. And it's just like old saying, man, now you're putting words in my mouth. If somebody would have asked him what was in the envelope, I'm sure he would have told him. But at the same time, speculation is hard. You know, this generation, everybody want to be first to say it and not have facts. You know, so you just got to understand, put yourself in that player's shoes. What was in the envelope, I don't know. I'm sure James Harrison, a.k.a. Debo, he won't tell you either. But at the same time, man, it's just going in that locker room, if we did know, we'll never say. That's how we stuck together. That's why I was so close-knit. But I don't know what was in that envelope. I never asked. Ain't none of my business.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ike, obviously you spend your entire 12-year career in Pittsburgh playing with just Hall of Fame teammates. You win a Super Bowl. Just kind of talk about that in today's era of free agency and players on the move. I mean, the NFL has long been that way, regardless of era, but you were able to spend your entire career there. Just talk about that, what that kind of means to you and what the Steelers organization means to you, playing for Mike Tomlin, winning that Super Bowl, and Mike Tomlin still trying to get it going today. And hopefully at some point, he's able to win a second one.
Yeah, it's everything. And it starts with Papa Rooney. You know, me and Papa Rooney had Dan Rooney, that is, R.I.P. We had a great relationship. We had a little different relationship. You know, I can go talk to Papa Rooney about anything. Front office, Kevin Colbert and company, knowing how to draft year in, year out, just to be contenders going to the playoffs, trying to get to the Super Bowl. Coaching staff. So, you know, I feel like I played with 2 Hall of Fame coaches. I already played with Hall of Fame coaches. Coach LeBeau, one of the old Hogs, Coach Russ Grimm, my other offensive line coach. Like, I didn't play with 4 Hall of Fame coaches, including and the Hall of Fame owner. So I was just very fortunate. I think when Coach Tomlin retires, he's going to be another Hall of Fame coach. Coach Kyle, he got into the Hall of Fame this year. Congrats on that. So I was just very fortunate. And when I'm saying Hall of Fame, I'm saying consistency. You know, one thing I do know about the Pittsburgh Steelers, they don't let the outside media dictate what they're doing. They stick to what they've been doing to be successful, and they just going to ride with it. It's the reason why you go on the South Side and you see them 6 trophies sitting on the second floor, you know. So that's one thing I like, man. They always dictate. They don't let the outside dictate on what they need to do. They always stick to the script, and that's usually sticking to their draft picks. If they draft you, you're a Steeler for life unless you do something crazy off the field, you know. So it's just been consistent, a consistent foundation, and it all started with the Rooney family, you know. And you're gonna go through some years. It's crazy. Pittsburgh ain't been to the Super Bowl in a while, but they always been consistent on at least having a chance to get into the playoffs. You know, so time will tell. But at the same time, just me being a Pittsburgh Steeler, being in that 412 area code, going through that Fort Pitt tunnel, when you win Super Bowls, you're on scholarship for life. And that's how I feel. Every time I go back to Pittsburgh, it's all love. It's all love. So, you know, I've learned a lot. We still in the 17. I got 2 groups. I got 2005 Super Bowl group with 17 guys. I got a 2008 Super Bowl group with 17 guys. I got to keep a charge on me at all times because we're always talking to each other. So it's just it's cool when my son can call Troy uncle. It's cool when Troy's sons can call me uncle. Ryan Clark, C. Hope. I can go down the list. So everybody who was having kids at the time, now they're called uncles. So just seeing Jay, Ryan Clark's son, go to Arizona State, watch the kid. He's playing corner now. Watch the kid from a young boy. Just seeing Tyrone Carter's son grow up, seeing daughters grow up, man, it's a beautiful thing to see. And we still family. I don't think, with this generation, we wanted to be with each other for so long. We took less money. But one thing we knew in Pittsburgh, you was going to see your whole contract. And if you went and got money, chase money from somewhere else, if you had to, you probably was going to go to an okay team. In a couple of years, you're going to wind up being a salary cap casualty, So we knew the business side of that. And somebody had to offer a lot for one of us to go. But Troy and I kind of made a deal together. We came in together. We was going to go out together. And that's how it worked out. You couldn't script it.
Well, you mentioned that you have a 2005 group chat from that year in Super Bowl, and I wanted to ask you about the backup quarterback, Charlie Batch. I feel like he was an underrated quarterback, and he won you guys a few games down the stretch that allowed you guys to get in the playoffs and make that Super Bowl run. So talk to us a little about Charlie Batch.
C. Batch, which he's a Yinzer, meaning he's a Pittsburgher. C. Batch, when you got a starting quarterback who runs the scout team, who's going against the defense, we ain't had no other choice but to be better. We ain't had no other choice. And no disrespect to Mason Rudolph, but if Mason is running the scout team, it's going to be years for him to make us better. But Sebastian has so many games, so much experience in Detroit. Man, when he ran that scout team against our first team defense, it was like going in a game. You had to be on your A game. So when we got in the game, it's like I got somebody who's backing up Big Ben. Then we have Byron Leftwich. Like, you got these backup guys who were successful in the league. Now they throwing the ball like you can't fool them. In practice, there is no way you can fool them. So I was so fortunate enough to have backups who was once starters in the league and able to help us, and just for us to be on that A game, especially in that secondary. Sit down and talk to them and ask them in practice, hey, C-Bass, what you saw me do? Or why did you throw the ball this way? Or what you looking at in this coverage? Or Byron Leftwich, what you saw me do? Why did you throw the ball this way? What you looking at this coverage? Man, to sit down and have all that knowledge coming from guys who've been first rounders in the league or backups on your team, that's a lot of growth, maturity, and we ain't have no other choice but to be good on defense.
Well, like I tell you what, before we let you go, obviously we're in a holding pattern right now. We don't know what things are going to be. In fact, just about an hour ago, the NCAA voted and has decided that players can start returning to work out as of, I believe, June 1st. So we don't know what this is going to look like. If you had to predict, if you had to bring out your crystal ball there, what is football going to look like this year? And as a player, would you even want to entertain the notion of playing with no fans in the stands and Madden-like generated digital fans in there? Would you even? How would you even feel about that?
I mean, once you strap up and get on the field, it's your reputation.
Yeah.
So regardless on what the fans make football. The fans make every sport, man. Like it's a different feel. It's a different feel when you just playing, but at the same time, when you got fans in this, it's a whole different feel when fans are there. They're one of the reasons why. But at the same time, safety always come first. So I think it's going to be what the mayor, what the governor feels in each state on what they want to do, and the NFL just got to dictate. I know some states talking about having a few fans in stadiums. Some states talking about going virtual. So I'm guessing between the two options, they'll dictate and see how that season feel and during this pandemic what we should do. At the same time, like I say, safety is always first, but man, once you strap up, fellas, Clint, once you strap up, man, there is no, whether the fans in the stadium or not, your tape is your resume.
That's so well said, Ike. We always appreciate the insight. You're one of the best in the business, my friend. Definitely miss seeing you on NFL Network. You were tremendous on there. Love the work, man. You're always great. Hey, great stuff. Thanks so much, my friend. Hopefully we get things back to normal, and we'll try to ease that way as quick as possible, my man. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, appreciate me having me on the show. Y'all boys stay safe.
You bet, Ike.
It was an honor. Thanks.
All right.
Great to catch up with Ike Taylor. Again, we taped that several weeks back. And so the topics of conversation at that time are kind of like, we're talking about Ben Roethlisberger and him trying to come back and some of the stuff he was involved in. And then we're talking about the Chiefs and who can knock them off. We're talking about Lamar Jackson. A lot happened since then, but that gives you the basics. We're talking football, and Ike Taylor was the perfect foil for us to be able to bounce some football topics off post-NFL draft. There you had it with Ike Taylor. That was very cool to catch up with him. And I miss him on NFL Network. I thought he was tremendous.
He really was, and maybe he can get back to some sort of being an analyst, whether it's ESPN, Fox Sports, but definitely miss his takes on there, so hopefully he can find a TV gig. And, I just love catching up with him. He intercepted Andrew Luck's first pass in the NFL. It was a preseason game. If you remember Andrew Luck, he was a quarterback. He played in the National Football League. I know we haven't heard from him in years. He decided it was too hot outside and quit. And we haven't heard from him, but
I think it was because he had a family. You have a kid, you get married, all of a sudden your perception changes. Just ask Adam Sandler. I don't know. Andrew Luck, perhaps we give him too hard of a time, but it's something that I'll never understand, to be honest with you.
No, I mean, he was able to provide for his family, stayed in the NFL for a few years, got some good money, and now he doesn't need any more. He doesn't need to win a Super Bowl, doesn't need to prove anything. He's been able to provide for his family. He socked that money away into a nice savings account, and he's ready to go.
Well, we've got to thank our sponsor on this week's podcast. It is Vermeil Wines. We have partnered with them. Again, go use that promo code ELITE. Go to vermeilwines.com. Noah, I've been testing out the Cabernet that I have here, and it is tremendous. I love Vermeil Wines. They were kind enough to send us some as a sample, and I have been, and especially in these troubled times, I've been kicking back a few, and my bottles are almost gone. So Vermeil Wines, huge thanks to them for supporting the podcast and sponsoring it this week.
Yeah, it's huge for Dick Vermeil. Carl Peterson is also a principal partner in Vermeil Wines. For them to be a sponsor here, it means the world to us. Be able to help them out as all businesses right now are struggling due to COVID-19. So it's great that we can help out Vermeil Wines. And, of course, you can as well by using that promo code ELITE when you buy 3 or more bottles of wine. That gives you $1 shipping, like you heard there in the commercial. And, yeah, I tried the red wine blend, and it got me a little tipsy. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know how strong it was. I downed the whole bottle. Apparently you're only supposed to have like one glass or something.
Folks, for those of you that don't know, what Noah just told you is beyond groundbreaking. He drank Vermeil wine, felt a buzz, and that's groundbreaking. I'm actually excited about that. I've tried to force that on a couple of occasions, one of which was in Nashville on Broadway Street, which is just it's a must. And I can't remember how that ended up, but great. That's great. And Vermeil Wines, guys, again, hit them up at vermeilwines.com. We appreciate them supporting the podcast. So many more big things coming up here on the Elite. Interviews coming up. Like we said, Sean Culkin is on the horizon. He played for the Los Angeles Chargers for the past 3 seasons. He is now an unrestricted free agent looking for a team. We're trying to maybe connect the dots and get him into Kansas City as a potential third tight end, playing here with Patrick Mahomes. That would be just tremendous. But a lot of big things coming up. We also have Jim McNally, offensive line coach. We're going to go into the trenches with Jim McNally on a feature podcast. He's been in the NFL for 40 years, offensive line coach for the Cincinnati Bengals and many more. Noah, my head could explode with all the great guests we've had and that we have coming up. That's what we do here on the Elite, and that's why that we do what we do. We form these connections. We do these interviews. It is a huge passion for us, and we can't thank all of our guests that come on the show with us and you guys for listening. It's always an honor.